Hello to all my fellow and future gamers, and welcome to the Bubbles Gaming channel. I am X, and this video is Eye of Azshara, normal, on my Blood Death Knight. So a couple of things really quick before we queue for the dungeon. I will show that I am an eye level 815, so I can queue for heroics, but I'm sticking to normals right now just as I go through all the normal dungeons on my different tanks. So we'll take a quick look at the dungeon journal, just so we know what we're getting into. Alright, so the first boss you're going to come to is the Warlord. He's got two things here for tanks, so he's going to cast this Impaling Spear ability. So he will hop back out of melee range, and you'll see an arrow pop up, and he'll pick a random player. Now it is that player's responsibility to get on the other side of one of the ads. So you want the arrow pointed at an ad, so that when he throws the spear, it'll hit his own dude instead of hitting you. Saves yourself, saves the healer, saves the group. Whole lot easier. Second thing is when he actually does call for reinforcements as the tank, make sure you do pull aggro on those guys. Depending on where they're at, sometimes the DPS, if they spawn right on the DPS, they can run through you, and then it makes it really easy to pick them up, or you just throw a taunt down. Next up will be Lady Hate Coil. You got to kill two specific ads before you can actually attack her, but once you do, she's got a couple of abilities. So first off is this Static Nova, so DBM, you'll see the alerts pop up when she's about to cast that. You want to make sure that you're standing on a dune. When she's about to cast Focus Lightning, you want to make sure that you are in the water. Now, if you're standing too close to a sand dune, then this Focus Lightning can actually wreck that sand dune, so it makes the first ability more difficult to avoid, but typically you can burn her down fast enough that it's not a big concern. And then just as a tank, make sure that when she does call for reinforcements, just like the first one, that you pull aggro on them. Not really difficult on the Blood DK. You drop a D&D, you drop a couple of Blood Boils, no issues. Next up that we'll actually get through as we're going through the dungeon is Serpentix. Relatively straightforward on normal, gets a little more difficult as you go into the heroic and mythic level. But on normal, it is a single head when you first start, and he will occasionally cast this Poison Spit ability, and so just make sure that you are downwind of that when Violent Winds is in effect. The other thing is this Submerge ability. So at 66 and then again at 33% health, he'll do Submerge, and he'll disappear. He'll go down underneath the water, you can't target him for a couple of seconds, he'll pop back up, and then he'll pop back up with two other heads that are not him. So as the tank, stay on Serpentix. Don't worry about the other guys. Serpentix is yours, so you got to make sure that when he starts channeling this Rampage ability, it's going to do a bunch of damage to everybody. So, interrupt it. Interrupt it as soon as you can, so that he stops doing that damage. The two heads that pop up, so in normal, they're both the same color, so you don't have to worry about an order. This is where you're really depending on your other party mates knowing what they're doing. So they need to get to the two heads, so split up, go after them, they can burn them down, and they have to interrupt their channeled abilities to prevent a bunch of extra damage from going down. So just keep that in mind. King Deepbeard, this guy's big dude, but really straightforward. When he does the Call of the Seas, then make sure you're staying out of there's a bunch of moving blue circles, so just don't stand in them. He'll cast Aftershock, which will leave an annotation on the ground where select players are, and after a couple of seconds he'll cast Quake, and then after a couple of seconds it'll do Aftershock. So when he initially casts, it doesn't do any damage, but if you're still standing in that wrecked area, you'll see it when we get there. If you're still standing there when it procs after a couple of seconds, then you'll take damage, so don't do that on purpose. And then the last thing you've got is this Ground Slam he'll do. It makes a huge yellow circle on the ground, really easy to get out of the way of, so just move. Run straight through him. He'll stay the way that he is, so then he'll use the ability, and then you can run back through him, so really the DPS won't see a change in his aspect at all. Finally is the Wrath of Azshara, so this is another really straightforward one. So as the tank, make sure you stay within melee range. So there's going to be a couple of times where you're just going to have to take a hit, right? There's going to be these little floating or little waves that are going to come around. Occasionally you're just going to have to take a hit because you want to stay in melee range so that she doesn't use this Raging Storm's ability. When you see a tornado, so a little twister floating around, try not to hit it because it'll throw you up in the air and do a bunch of damage. And lastly is the Massive Deluge, which is just like King Deepbeard's what was it? The ground slam ability. It'll be a big blue circle on the ground that just tells you, get out of me, or you're going to take a bunch of damage. So with all that, I'm going to queue up for Eye of Azshara normal, and once I have queued, I will unpause the video, and we'll be right back. Alright, and I'm back. So just to kind of rub in how awesome the tanking queues are, I kind of got frustrated there because it took me almost 3 minutes to get a queue. So just keep that in mind. If that doesn't reinforce that you should be trying out tanking, then I don't know what will. So we'll make sure that I got everybody together. So it looks like I've got a shaman healer, which is nice. Got a druid, another druid, and another death knight. Alright. So a lot of people go down that first road right there. I do not go that way. I go this way. The biggest reason for that is because I try not to pull those turtles. So then when I get down here to this group, I will pull these guys, and then I will also go down and I'll grab this guy too. Somebody stunned him up here. That's okay. Pull this guy down here. It'll strangulate or asphyxiate. And I did not have a... not even worried about dropping a D&D right now. He's too close to dying, so we'll just let him go. Drop one over here. Healer's doing good on mana, so that's good. So really with these guys, normally I'm really aggressive about interrupting, but these ones I'm really waiting for them to go for the lightning storm. So these trash mobs are really straightforward, not very difficult. I'll go ahead and drop it because he's gonna get... he'll be dead soon enough that I can afford. And I haven't even used a death strike yet. This is really good. This is going really well. I'm very pleased. Good group. Healer's keeping me alive. Alright, so let's see where they come from. So this guy, come over here. Switch my target back to the boss. I'll be able to maintain aggro on him. Alright, so now you come over here. Alright, so let's see what happens. So now he's running away. Try to gather these guys back up so my DPS can cleave right. Alright, so once again on him. So there actually isn't an ad out right now, so unfortunately, there he is. Pull him over. Oh, and there's another one. Oh, where did you come from? Alright, so who's going to stick around? Alright, so a couple of these guys got pulled. I think when he got hit by that last ability, it actually threw him up and over into a small group. That's fine. It's the first time I've actually seen that. Alright. So now we'll mount up and we'll just run around. So coming up here is there's 2 specific enemies that you have to take down before you can actually attack the next boss, and that's one of them right there. So generally she's surrounded by these globs, and if you hit her at the right time, then you can actually pull her without having any issues with them. So I'm going to try to pull her back here. So this will give my group the opportunity to use some AoE stuff without having to worry about inadvertently pulling those globs. They don't really do a bunch of damage. They're easy to keep track of, but you can save yourself a little bit of time. And I should have seen that coming. Oh, and here they come anyway. Alright. It's alright. We got them. So there's a couple different routes that people take here. There's 2 of these. There's more than 2 of those ladies that you have to take out. So there's one up here, but she's got some people that are really close to her. And then there's one down over there that you can go after if you want. On a character with a grip, I will absolutely go for this one, because I can pull her away from that group, so you don't have to worry about them right away. So you can pull them separate, or you can avoid it entirely. Oh man, camera's terrible. And alright. Alright, let's see what. So I'm gonna run through here and just make sure. I'm gonna take a look back, make sure nobody pulls. And then we can go straight out. I'm going to pull these guys just so that they don't get pulled on accident when we're fighting the boss. Just makes it easier. Some people do, some people don't. You'll see. I'm a little more cautious than some tanks. Got everybody, we're looking good. Alright, so here's the second boss. Very straightforward. So I'm just going to hang out right up here on this, because I know that first thing she's going to use is the one that you have to be on the sand for. And then we'll move. Easy enough to get aggro on them. And then I'll come down here. I'm actually going to step back over here so that I get far enough away from that island that hopefully it won't destroy another one. Perfect timing. I just got my Death and Decay off a cooldown there. Oh, messed that one up. I'll just take the hit. Yep. So stunk for a couple of seconds. Sorry, heals. But we'll stay in water for now. So we should be able to burn her down before the next one. Absolutely. Perfect. Alright, so next up is Serpentis. So this guy, he's a pain, the biggest thing is appropriately clearing out this area. So these little crabs, whatever, if a couple of them here and there get pulled while you're fighting Serpents, it's not a big deal. These guys you can even deal with on the fly. It's not a huge thing. The ones that matter are the Hydras. So those guys right there. They're huge. They take a while to burn down. They're not fun to deal with. And they do this, I think it's called Rolling Thunder. It's an ability that it's like a series of lightnings that is just a pain in the butt. So I'll go ahead, pop that, and then I'll grip him over here as soon as I can. Grip. Alright. Drop my Death and Decay here. So if any of those Hydras are left in this area and they get pulled during the boss, like that is, it's a huge pain to deal with. Go ahead and pull this guy. Oh, apparently I can't move him. He's too big. So you'll see the Rolling Thunder here. And then it just keeps spreading out and moving out. And it can just hurt a lot. And there's another version of it too. So you can imagine that going on while you're also trying to fight a boss. The other one that are terrible are these seagulls. And I go out of my way to go after these guys. Because they can do a full stun, a full-blown stun, and so if anybody pulls them around you, right, the person who is always second on the charts, on the aggro charts, is your healer. So they just immediately go after your healer. So then they just start stunning him, and then he gets low, and then he's worried about healing himself, trying to keep himself alive, or trying to keep the DPS alive, and then you just start falling by the wayside. Oh my goodness, that's terrible. So I'm going to drop this on him. Get him. And then we'll do that. And that disorient right there. So it's not a stun, it's a disorient. My bad. But I hate those seagulls. So I try to make sure that they're all out of the way so that nobody has to deal with them. And there goes another one. I also don't like this area because there's not a clean way to like just go around and drain it out. So that should be enough. I don't see anything else that I'm too terribly concerned about. So I'll go ahead and pull. So that toxic wound you just saw drop, so that is on one of your party mates. So as he runs around, it leaves that pool, so then as the fight goes on, you have to continuously stay out of those things. So this is the first time he'll use the submerge ability, so now you just gotta look around, try to find him. So there's his two buddies. Hopefully, oh, looks like the DPS are gonna focus on him. At least one of them. Oh, and there's a seagull. I really don't want to pull him. So you can see the red rings coming out from the other one. So they have not been interrupted. They have not been killed. So they're just doing basically party-wide damage to everybody for no reason. So it looks like they're actually going after him now, which is good. But we got him down, so that's the 33%. He's still got one head. So now there's going to be 3 of them up. So we'll get the interrupt out as soon as possible. Drop. Got myself back up, so we're looking good. The self-sustainability of the DK is definitely a pleasure. I'm not sure what's going on with this sound right now. Every time I hit a key, it sounds like I'm closing a window for some reason. I don't know why. Alright, so that was Serpentis. Or Serpentix. Generally, you can get through here without pulling any of the other crabs. I've just got 2 of them left here, so I'm just gonna kill these so that I don't have to worry about them with anybody else. So when you get up through here, you'll see the big dude standing in the doorway. You can get around him without worrying about it. As long as everybody stays close to the side, you can get through without pulling him. Occasionally there's a small group of murlocs in here, and I hate murlocs to begin. Oh, okay, so they are here. So this is actually a good one. Sometimes you'll be in this portion of the cave up here when you realize that the murlocs are here, and then you get 2 huge pulls at once, which can really be a pain. But this time, since I saw them, I'm going to wait right here. Looks like the group didn't see them when we were coming in, so they'll come back around here in just a second. I would rather not get in 2 fights at once. Where'd they go? There they are. See? I thought I knew what I was talking about. So let's get ready to drop this Death and Decay right here. They all thought I was dumb. But occasionally I actually know what's going on, so. This little group coming up here is another one. It's not bad, but I try to keep them back here so that I don't pull the snail. The snail is not that bad. He's got a lot of health. He takes a while to burn down, so it's just kind of a waste of time, but he does this frontal cone attack that actually does a lot of damage. And so if you're sitting there trying to focus down those guys, but then he's just snotting into the group and you don't realize exactly what's going on, then it just does a bunch of extra damage the healer has to worry about. This guy you can get around without having to worry about, so as soon as you can mount up, kind of split him and those murlocs right there, and then swoop around and you can skip all this portion by coming up here, and then you'll come to the guardians for, or the 2 big dudes before the final big dude, King D-Beard. So somebody just BRB'd. I did not see that. And somebody just pulled this dude. I almost just want to let him die, but I won't. I'll pull him down here, get him away from that seagull, so I don't have to worry about him at least. Come on down, Buckwheat. This will be fun. At least the healer's here. These guys aren't a big deal. It's just somebody that we didn't necessarily have to fight, but now we are. First world problems, I guess. Alright, so everybody's in range. So now we'll just pull through. I generally start with the guy on the right. That's who my primary focus is. I just swapped, but it's fine. Yep, and that was what I did not want to happen. So the one of them will stun you, and the other one drops those water spouts. So it's a pretty good combination. So if you burn one of them down, then you can prevent either being stunned or the water spouts, one or the other. I think it's easier to... Oh. So this next boss, as a tank, I will say he requires a lot of movement, especially when the little blue circle things are flying around the screen. or sliding around on the ground. So it's not... It feels weird as a tank to move as much as you have to. So that's... pretty sure I had enough time to get out of there, but I didn't want to play that game. Alright, so there's Quake, so that drops that on the ground, so you just want to make sure that you're not standing in it when it procs like that. So that was the Aftershock, and then those are the little blue circles that go around. So get out of that. So try to avoid them as much as you can. They don't do a whole lot of damage, but they stack up, as you can see with at least one of the DPS over there. So try to stay out of them, move a little bit. Overall, this is going pretty well. So I'm trying to keep his back to the group so that they've always got that aspect of him so that they get their best chances to hit and they do the most damage. Alright, so the Enrage doesn't really change his abilities at all. It just makes him hit a little harder, use his abilities a little bit faster. Oh, very nice. So keep in mind over here on the SCADA, so I've got it on, it's an external plugin, so it's somebody else came up with it. It doesn't come with SCADA. It's DPS plus heals per sec, so I am not doing like second from top DPS. I'm only doing 90k, but I'm healing for 46k, so that's why it's making this number so big. So that's not just damage, that's also my own self-healing. I like it for the DK, for the Demon Hunter, and then I also like it on my Disc Priest when I play around with him. And should not have interrupted that one. That's the one. Yeah, it didn't matter because he just did it again anyway. Can't win them all. So I mount up between these guys. It just saves a couple of seconds. So you have to kill all these outside guys. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. You've got to kill them all before you can attack the Wrath. And it's... So I've seen some tanks, they try to drag them to each other, but I'll tell you, they are constantly trying to cast spells. They don't really do any melee at all. So unless your party has every one of their interrupts lined up and they only use them perfectly, they'll be dead by the time they make it to the next one. So it's a lot easier, I think, to just run through and kill them one by one. So I can definitely tell that I'm a lot more comfortable with the Blood DK than I am with the Guardian Druid. I feel like the self-sustainability is better. I think the Guardian Druid with the Frenzied Regen, whatever, like I talked about, it's a crap heal, and then with the, what's the other one? With their Regrowth, right? So you can kind of touch yourself up between fights, but the DK is just so much better off inside of fights. Alright, so here's the final boss. Doesn't really matter where you stand, just pick a spot and stay there. Try to stick around the same area, unless you're going to get hurt bad. So that's the one you want to get out of the way of. Don't get hit by that. And then I just go right back. As much as I can, I try to stay around the same area, just so the heals can always find me. I know what a pain in the butt it is sometimes, like even as a DPS, you kind of lose your frame of reference. Oh, that's interesting. Apparently I missed the twister. Exactly what I told you guys not to do, I just did, so do as I say, not as I do. Man. I'm gonna go ahead and get out of that. Just like that, I'll just kind of take the hit on it because I want to stay in melee range. Man, he just came right down below me. I need to drop you. Let me get you going. Get a couple more death strikes in here. Get some self-heals going. I just love how quick and efficient that is to get yourself straight back up and going. Couple death strikes and you are well on your way. Alright. So that was that. That was a really good one. I was very pleased. I'll quick take a look through here. I kind of like to look at this overall. So total throughout the thing, 129k. That's pretty good for a tank. I think that's my best DPS that I put down as a tank. My rep paladin's probably pretty close, but you know, putting down 130k. Granted, I'm an 815 on a normal, so it's probably closer to 80 to 90 if I'm actually running a heroic, but it's still pretty good. And then being able to heal that much is really nice too, so good group overall. Let's take a look at interrupts. Very nice. So that is, I love seeing this many interrupts in a group. That just helps a lot. It's one of those passive things that helps a group a lot that, you know, isn't something that everybody tries to do. It's not even something that while you're in the dungeon you notice that much, but the heals can definitely tell the difference whether he knows it or not when there's that many interrupts going down. Alright, so with that I'll stop rambling and I will end this one. So this has been Eye of Azshara normal on my Blood Death Knight, and I am X from the Xbubblez gaming channel. It's been a pleasure. I'm out.